Hello, Kirsty Stark here. Welcome back to We Interrupt This broadcast for 2026. It is not the same this year. We have lost Julie Eckersley to her new role at Screen Queensland, but today I'm excited to introduce the new co-hosts for We Interrupt This broadcast. And yes, that was plural. There are 3 new hosts coming on board for the podcast this year, which I am very excited about. They're all incredible people, and I can't wait to introduce them to you all. So I'm going to do it one by one today. I'll have a chat with each of them, and I thought this would be a good way to kick off the year and get to know the people who will be guiding you through conversations about the Australian screen industry across 2026. First, I am very excited to introduce Loani Arman. Loani, you're based in Queensland, a writer-director and also a former SBS commissioning editor in scripted. I'm just so excited to have your voice on the podcast. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me on the podcast. I've always loved talking to people in the industry. I love people and I love their stories. So having the opportunity to engage with the industry on that level is so exciting. I've always fantasized about being a red carpet reporter. I know it sounds bonkers, but I just have. So I'm really excited to get out to festivals and events.
Yeah, and that's part of what we're looking to do with the expanded team is to be more present at events across Australia and to have more conversations on the ground. I think we realised that the podcast has been very one direction so far, and we wanted to open up that conversation and give you as an industry the opportunity to talk back and spark ideas. I think it will be great to have you out there on the red carpet.
Yeah, unleash me in my big fancy gowns and a microphone. Look out, industry. I'm coming at you.
It's going to be awesome. Are there any particular conversations that you're looking forward to having on the podcast this year or things we should be talking more about?
I have a very specific interest in all the work I do, whether it be as a creative or as an executive in the industry, to hear new voices and what that input is, and also looking at pathways for those new voices. And they don't look like the same model that we've followed forever and a day. So I'm really invested in talking to not only new voices, but people who are caretaking for those voices as well. So people who are working in cultural safety or people who are working in mental health awareness, and looking at how we best protect this industry, particularly at a time that I think is really, really difficult. A big part of that is just that human connection that we so desperately need at the moment. That's where this podcast, I think, can be really useful, finding those like little moments of connection between each other where we can remind each other we're a community. We're not an industry. We work in an industry, but we're a community, and we need now more than ever to rely upon that. I'm also excited just about having some really fun conversations. I take the industry, I take the work, I take the community really seriously, but I also like to inject a lot of energy and fun into it. So I'm also just super interested in talking to those really left of field thinkers who just might have the most bonkers things to say, but are just so beautiful and exuberant and joyful in what they have to offer. So there'll be little fun pops of that I'd love to bring to the podcast.
So exciting to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Now I'm very excited to introduce our next host, Aven Yap. Aven, you are a championship-winning classical pianist turned filmmaker. What was that journey like, and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I was a championship-winning classical pianist in my youth. I was that cliche Asian piano prodigy kid practicing for hours and hours on end. But a real turning point hit when I was finishing high school. I was accepted into 2 wonderful conservatories, and I looked at the offers in my hand, and I had to make a decision as to what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I reflected on what I do like, and that is working with people. I really love collaboration. I really love business. I really love creativity and output. And I found there was a lot more of that in filmmaking than there was in classical piano. Ever since then, I have had such an incredible and fun and joyous journey in the industry, working across all sorts of formats and genres in Asia and Australia. And now I'm here, very excited to be part of the podcast.
And you've worked across different roles: production, development, screenwriting, content creating. Why was it that you wanted to get involved in We Interrupt This broadcast?
I think the last 2 years have been a really trying time, a real baptism of fire for the industry to reveal where the insecurities are and how vulnerable and fragile the industry can be. I am working a lot with extremely talented creatives, artisans, creative professionals. There is no shortage of talent, but in the last 2 years, I think my eyes have really been opened to how the arena can really get in the way of that talent from truly flourishing. And I really wanted to be part of the conversation that puts power, agency, and self-determination back into the hands of our practitioners. We're an industry of small businesses and startups, and I'm bringing the perspectives and curiosities of that experience, that of the flat white founder with, the laptop and a cafe Wi-Fi connection, the sole director operators. And I see my role here as someone who's asking questions and listening. And I really love the word interrupt in the title of the podcast. It really aligns with my passion of examining the status quo, where the voices and conversations I'm hearing on the ground actually have space to be explored.
I really love that call out about the word interrupt in the title. And I think that is part of what we're trying to do is interrupt the status quo, interrupt what's always been accepted in the industry as normal. And with so much changing in the market and in the global industry, now is the time to go, okay, how can we be having a different conversation? What else is going on out there? What other business models can we be looking at? How else can we do things? So excited to have your curiosity and to have you as part of the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
And our fourth host for the podcast for 2026 is Robbie Miles. Robbie, you are a producer and screen creator in your own right, but you also work at AACTA as the head of industry and alumni engagement. So welcome.
Thanks, Kirsty, and thanks, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Robbie, what brought you to film and TV and why did you want to be part of the podcast?
Well, I grew up absolutely adoring film and television, as we all did, but I worked in a video store from when I was 11 to when I was 20 and devoured everything on the shelves and had dreams towards making my own content. I had always wanted to write and direct, and so I studied writing and directing, but found out that I had not much to say, but the logistical skill to help other people get their films made. So found producing that way and wound up working in development in California, in West Hollywood for a few years before coming back to Australia to produce my first feature, Crushed, with Megan Rakos.
And what kind of conversations would you love to have on We Interrupt This broadcast?
Well, as we've discussed before, I'm such a nerd for all aspects of the industry and how historical lessons apply to things that are happening now, as well as all the change that we want to see. So I'm really excited by everything I've heard on the podcast around, what we aspirationally can get to, what are some of the roadblocks that collectively we can work to unpick or destroy, as well as looking at new distribution models. So I feel in a lot of ways this podcast is a public service to increase the capacity of the industry and help connect people who have great stories but maybe never thought they would be able to tell them or are waiting for permission to tell them, and giving them that permission.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity out there now. I also just want to mention your public television appearance last year. Can you tell us what your major achievement was for 2025?
Well, my major achievement for 2025 is to show that I got married to my wonderful wife. But the other big thing that happened last year was I won Mastermind Australia. So I'm the 2025 champion of Mastermind Australia.
Which just speaks to your ability to nerd out over detail and facts and trivia. So I'm very excited to have you bring some of that to the podcast because it is the complete opposite to how my brain works.
Standing ready to deliver.
I do just want to mention that AFTRS is one of our sponsors, so Robbie will be involved in this kickoff episode, but to avoid any conflict of interest, he won't be part of deep dive interviews or industry commentary until that sponsorship runs out at the end of February.
This episode of We Interrupt This broadcast is sponsored by AFTRS, the Australian Film, Television and Radio School. For more than 50 years, AFTRS has been working with our industry, always delivering incredible education and training to our Australian storytellers. So if you're looking for a full-time course or a short course, if you want to be on campus or online, anywhere in Australia, AFTRS has a course that's going to suit you.
So here we are. There's four of us. We're the new We Interrupt This broadcast team. I thought it would be fun to kick off the year with a bit of a conversation about what we've been up to over summer, anything you might have watched that you really resonated with, and what you're excited for this year. So Aven, what's on your mind?
Well, I'll start with the fact that I've gone totally viral on Instagram as a content creator. I was in the car park of Sunnybank Plaza in Brisbane, which is probably the worst parking complex in our state. I was so frustrated and I just recorded myself crashing out, praying to God that a car park would come to me, and it came to me immediately afterwards. And at the point of recording this podcast. It is sitting at around 380,000 views, almost 30,000 likes in under a week. I decided I'm going to make a comeback as a content creator. I was a content creator in the early 2010s because what Asian Australian kid didn't want to be? Wong Fu Productions, Mai Choni, Kev Jumba, those sorts of creators. And I really reflected on what I love about filmmaking, and it is that process of making at speed and publishing quickly. A producer who produces, right?
We'll put the link in the show notes for anyone who wants to watch Aven crashing out in a car park. And, you might be up to 1 million views by the time this episode comes out. What are you excited about this year, Loani?
I've spent a long time kicking around all corners of this industry. I've honestly literally had every job possible. 2 years ago, I made the decision to leave the executive life for a bit and just fully commit to being a creative and just seeing if I could make that work. Because I've been saying it. I'm middle-aged now. I've been saying this for a very, very long time. Just dive in, just give it a shot. And it took a little adjusting and the work was there, but it was a little bit slow. But within the last sort of 6 months, I've been able to live off being a writer. And that's looking pretty promising for the year ahead. So I'm excited that I've started to back myself and that I'm just committing to it. And then I'm out there saying I'm a writer and I'm doing it. I'm excited about being a host on this podcast. I got a new microphone to prove it. Look at this investment in my career. And I'm excited just to keep working with really aligned people on my creative pursuits. I'm also really excited to continue being a mum because I'm really good at it. So good. I'm really good at that. And my kids are awesome.
So good. I love that idea of alignment and just doing things you want to do. I am someone who constantly has 4 or 5 projects on the go at once. But I read a book over Christmas called The One Thing. And I was like, I don't think I can subscribe to this one thing in general, but maybe I can subscribe to one thing at a time. So I'm trying to line up my projects this year and just really focus intensely on getting one thing done and out the door and then move to the next one, which I'm excited about.
You are doing that. I mean, you founded this podcast and all those impressive stats. That's a pat on the back that you need to take. But I can hear that in our conversations, how you're really focusing in on what serves you and your life and finding those aligned sort of creative environments. Super important in the world that we're living in.
Yeah, really excited to expand the podcast more this year, expand CourHQ more. I have so many ideas for CourHQ that I just haven't had the capacity to make happen yet. And I have one project in development as a producer again. So very excited about that as well. What about you, Robbie?
The alignment that you both spoke of, hits me really strongly because that's been a big focus of my summer break, is thinking about what really lights me up, what really gets me excited. I've been working at AFTRS for 7 years now and absolutely adore it. And I'm a real true believer in education and what that can do for the industry, but also relaunching my company, Miles Ahead Productions, and working with my really close friend Gary to find projects that really light us up. And there's a project that I've been working on for 8 years with the writer that's got my heart, that is closer than it's ever been to production. And I'm being careful of all the kryptonite jinx words around that, but excited to see that finally get to a stage that it deserves to, with a really great team around it. But thinking about things I watched over the break that were really great, I mean this hugely as a compliment, but the movie Warfare by Alex Garland is utterly terrifying, to the point that I fainted while watching it, which is new for me. So welcome to my 40s, where I've discovered that really graphic depictions of wounds can make me faint. But the movie is that good. I had gone, just went completely offline for about 30 seconds and scared the hell out of my wife. So that's I'd say the best thing I've seen in a long time.
Robbie's fainting, Aven's crashing out. It's a good start to the year. Aven, what are you excited about other than forming a new career as an influencer?
Of course, the content creation is maybe just me itching to make things at speed, but I've recently picked up an exciting piece of kids' IP, and I did a creative workshop on it in New South Wales. And I can't say too much about it yet, but I hope to announce that in the coming months. And I've also signed up for a course on freelancing, personal branding, and creative business. So I'm learning all sorts of new ways to support myself and the industry at large. This is an interesting tidbit. I'm meeting my local MP for the first time to discuss the experience concerns and challenges of our unique and special industry. I sent her an email towards the end of last year saying, thank you for your speech about the streaming regulation bill. I got a reply and now I'm having this meeting. So if you guys have any comments or conversation points that you want to bring to this conversation that I'm about to have with Julie Ann Campbell from the electorate of Moreton, please leave it in the comments. DM me and I will just be the messenger for this industry.
That's amazing. And our email address for the podcast is weinterruptpod@gmail.com. So you can shoot through an email there as well if you have anything for Aven to pass on. Another big way that we are going to kick off the year and our first public outing as a team is at AACTA Fest. All four of us will be there on the ground. And I am just stoked to announce our activation that we will be running as a podcast. So we do have a panel which you can come to on Thursday at 5 p.m. Go to the AACTA Fest website and register for that if you'd like to come along. But as you know, if you've been listening to our deep dive interviews, we ask every guest the same question: what their big idea is to shape the future of the Australian screen industry. And at AACTA Festival, you will have the opportunity to talk to us, submit your own ideas via a website and QR code, and we'll be collating those ideas across the spectrum of the industry, capturing what it is that people are thinking about in the moment and where you think we can go to grow this industry for the better. So I am super excited about that.
It's going to be so great. It's such a great event. I can't wait.
And it's so amazing how generous everyone there is with their time. You walk the halls and everyone is there. People who are incredibly high profile, really experienced, and they're all there in the one place, excited to talk to anyone. And the panel curation is fantastic as well. Last year, for example, the working dog panel tore the roof off and everyone in the room was having an amazing time, only to find out that Sam Neill was sitting right in the middle of the room and lobbing questions as well.
It's exactly what the industry is built on, isn't it? Like those moments that you think are just in passing. You go to an event and you just run into someone, and those sort of moments of networking, in my experience of my career, have been the foundation of how I've built my career. It's been meeting someone at an event, talking to them, following up another event, and suddenly you're building this sort of network out really organically and naturally based on how you sort of move through the world and who you naturally connect with. It's so, so valuable to keep showing up at those kinds of industry events.
And I know you're the queen of making friends within 5 minutes, Loani, as well.
It's true. Julie Eckersley and I worked together at SBS. I was Julie's scripted commissioning editor, and she retitled me whilst I was at SBS to the head of networking. She was just fascinated that I would walk into any room and walk away with 3 new best friends. And she kept thinking that I knew everybody. Like we went to Bustleton, went to Cinefest Oz one year, and I walked into this room. She's like, "Oh, you know so many people." I was like, "What people?" I just met them. So yes, head of networking.
Head of networking at the network.
Well, super excited to have you all on board. For those of you who aren't across our podcasting schedule, we release a new episode every Tuesday, and we'll be doing the same throughout 2026. Next week, we have a special bonus episode about the AACTA Festival. It's a preview with Sam Buckland from AACTA, so tune in for that one if you're planning on heading up or still thinking about it. And then we'll kick off our regular programming in February, so deep dive interviews on the first 3 Tuesdays of the month, and then the final Tuesday is our monthly roundup where we cover all of the news, issues and opportunities happening in the Australian industry that month. Maybe we should end on just a little wrap up. Do you each have a sentence or a reason that people should listen to us in 2026? Aven, why don't you kick us off?
If you are tired of throwing spaghetti at the wall by yourself in your creative practice, that ends now. Stop what you are doing and hit follow.
Love it. Robbie?
I think as a group, we all want to see more great stuff. And the shortest path between you and making more great stuff is to listen to this podcast and the amazing guests that we have.
So good. Loani?
Again, I think it is about remembering that we are all flawed, imperfect, wonderful, joyous, intelligent, smart, creative, beautiful people within this industry. But all of that shit that clutters this industry and makes you think that everything is impossible, you can disregard all that and just remember that we're just all human beings. No one's better than anyone else. Everyone's got concerns. Everyone's got ideas. And there's just this podcast to me is somewhere where we can talk about them in a really very natural human way.
For me, it's about opening up an industry-wide conversation. I think what you said about people is so true, Loani. We are all flawed humans, but we all are also inspiring, incredible people doing amazing work. And the more we can spread those ideas and have that conversation and make it possible for everyone to learn from each other, I just think the Australian screen industry is going to be better for it. Tune in till we interrupt this broadcast. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and we will see you next episode. Now back to your regular programming. We Interrupt This broadcast is recorded on the unceded lands of the
Gadigal people of the Eora Nation,
The Turrbal and Yuggera people,
The Yugambeh language people,
and the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains, and we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and first storytellers of these regions.
always was, always will be.